Welcome in everyone to Be on the Beat, that shows that the show that connects you, the people who matters most, the beat writers. I'm your host, Matt Olson, and today we're diving into the Tennessee Titans with Easton Freeze of AtoZ Sports. This episode is brought to you by Fast Draft, your go-to for the quickest, easiest fantasy game in existence. Easton, how we doing today, man?
What's going on, Matt? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this before the show started. Both living here around Tennessee. I still can't talk. I'm clearly jet lagged from flying in. But it's exciting to talk the Titans. I've been in Nashville for 3 years now, and I feel like this is the most excitement around the team. Do you feel the same way, or?
It's different, right? It's the first time, I guess, since Mariota in 2015 that they've had a really high draft pick at quarterback, and it is hard to be super pessimistic when you're kind of at rock bottom after a really brutal last place finish in 2024. So I think that there is some natural optimism that is all buoyed, of course, by Cam Ward, because how can you not be excited about the guy? He's the first overall pick.
No, absolutely. And I mean, let's just dive right into Cam Ward. He kind of comes in as that hope of the future. There were a couple preseason games. It seems to be, I like what I see. I guess it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I definitely appreciate his willingness to throw the ball down the field. Seems like he can throw on the move. What do you consider a successful first season for Cam Ward to look like? And then is that a realistic expectation for what you think is actually going to happen this year with him?
Yeah, step one is to play 17 games, right? Stay clean, stay healthy. Don't get put in a position to really hurt yourself, and that's something that we can take for granted sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The number of reps that he gets this year being maximized is a big deal, I think, for any rookie quarterback, just because, especially in a situation where you're not coming in expecting to compete right away, you're just trying to get your sea legs about you. He's somebody that we've already seen some glimpses of this in the preseason. Obviously, you take it all with a grain of salt until the real bullets are flying. But I want to see as many instances this year of him clearly getting it in terms of NFL 201 and 301 level pocket passing. He's not somebody that's not mobile, obviously, but that's not his calling card. He's not somebody like Jaden Daniels where they can, and this is no slight to Jaden, this is a superpower. So this is a positive more than it is a negative, but guys like him come in and can have really, really high ceiling first years, even if they aren't always understanding the picture that they're seeing. And so there are a number of plays last year where, to the casual viewer or the untrained eye, it's a 42-yard play that's engineered by Jaden Daniels because he takes off running when the pocket gets muddy, and it's like, wow, this guy's awesome. He can do anything. In reality, it's because he's back there and he has no idea what he's looking at. But who cares? Because he can take off and he can make a positive play out of it. And so that's kind of your out when you have the physical ability that somebody like him does. And he's also somebody that, I'm not worried about him as a pocket passer either. There are going to be times for any rookie quarterback as a pocket passer that you don't understand what's going on and you panic and you have to make something out of nothing. And with Cam Ward, he's going to be put in positions this year. My understanding from the coaching staff is that they are going to push him and they're going to put a lot on his plate, and they're not going to try to, it's not that they're not going to press the easy buttons for him, but they're not going to try to babysit training wheels his rookie year. They're going to have him do a little bit of baptism by fire, which is the way that they think he can best develop. And so just keeping him clean and giving him opportunities to make mistakes, learn from them, and then show the one example from the preseason so far to kind of nerd out just a little bit. If folks want to go back and look at, and there's not many of them to choose from, so it won't be hard to find. In the Tampa Bay game, week 1 of the preseason, they're on their own, they're on the Buccaneers 25-yard line. They're trying to get into the red zone on 3rd down, and the play ends up being a completion to tight end Chig Okonkwo right over the middle, right at the sticks, 1st down, quick pass and catch, and it's a pretty quick thing you don't think much of. But when you go back and watch it on all 22, this is a play where clearly Chig is not the first read in the progression. But what Cam diagnoses pre-snap is that what fit the defense has, the initial look, is not going to be compatible for the defense. on the route that Chig is going to run right up the seam and sit at the sticks. And instead of, I think it's a 5-step drop, instead of taking the 5-step drop, working through the progression to get to Chig, he diagnoses that pre-snap, hikes the ball, cuts his feet short, gets away with a little bit of shoddy footwork in cutting the footwork short, but there's some natural ability there that you for it, and gets the ball immediately into the hands of Chig, throws the ball before he turns around, basically getting the ball to the receiver that he knows pre-snap is going to be open before the defense has a chance to read and react and fit what they aren't prepared to fit in the first place. And so that's like a nerdy, very small preseason example of this guy gets it, right? That's the kind of thing that you want to see a lot of from him this year. Pocket passing 201, pocket passing 301, and he's already showing flashes of it in the preseason.
No, I think that's huge. I mean, I remember, the whole Will Levis scenario and just trying to get excited about him. And I couldn't. And I feel like there is that excitement with Cam, and you do see those small things. So I'm excited to see what the Titans do this year. I think I think they have a good guy to lead it. And
he should make them fun to watch, right? Even if they're not winning games, even if it's really ugly at times, he should be really entertaining to watch. They're in a ton because they play both Wests. Both the West Division, so they're in a ton of late afternoon window games, which is weird for the Titans. So they're just going to be, that quad box is going to be flying in the mid-afternoon for folks. That Cam Ward up in the right-hand corner is going to be a fun little thing to glance at every once in a while if you're not a Titans fan.
No, for sure. We're going again to the Patriots-Titans game. My whole family's coming down for it, and obviously a great game last year. Happens to be, getting an encore this year. And I'm dying to just see Cam against May. I think it'll be a very interesting, not similar quarterbacks, but similar in some regards. So excited for that game. But let's talk about who's behind Drake May. Oh my goodness, Cam Ward. We have Tony Pollard, we have Tyjae Spears. Tyjae's obviously a little bit banged up right now. Assuming they're both healthy, how do you kind of see that split with them? What do you think each are going to do? And then behind them, you have Julius Chestnut and Khalil Mullins. What are some positive negatives you've seen from those running backs? Do you think they have a role at all? How do you see this whole backfield kind of shaping up and then going into the season?
Yeah, as you mentioned, unfortunately, Tyjae's already hurt, which was the reason why last year what they came into the season planning to do on paper had to be thrown out of the window for most of the year, and Tony Pollard had to kind of put the run game on his back, and frankly was one of the only clear positives about this Titans offense on a given Sunday. He had a really good year despite being asked a lot of and put in a suboptimal position for his play style. The coaching staff does not want to run him like that, but if they have to, they will. And the hope this year is that they don't have to. Now, obviously, it's off to a really rough start with Tyjae having a high ankle sprain, and I wouldn't expect him to be back at all in week one. And if he is, certainly not at full capacity. You never know with those ankle sprains. And when he does come back, I don't know. But if and when they have a significant chunk of the season that they're both healthy, the hope is that it's relatively 50-50 and that you're able to maximize the freshness of both of those guys. Pollard is your more traditional between the tackles runner. Tyjae Spears is genuinely a top 3 or maybe top 5 guy on this roster in terms of people that you want to find a way to get the ball to in space and then just let them operate, because he's a really shifty, really explosive runner. It's just keeping him on the field, keeping him healthy, and then hopefully finding ways to utilize him in the passing game and the screen game and the designed look game where the play is essentially a glorified run, but you're not handing the ball off in the backfield.
No, I've wished Spears could stay healthy because I love the pick coming out. I think it does add a dynamic.
So did I.
And I think Pollard, to your point, they do similar things, and Pollard's capable of. Well, he showed us, I guess, what he's capable of last year here in Tennessee. But, beyond those two guys, do you see anything in this backfield that gets you excited? Or is it just kind of, we need these two guys to stay healthy during the season? Well, the Titans are going to have some problems.
Yeah, they'll both be on the team now that Spears is hurt, and they are pretty different players. Julius Chestnut's a guy that you just can't kill on this roster. He's a really useful player. And he's somebody that they trust on special teams. He's somebody that they trust to handle pass protection. He's somebody that is a fine runner between the tackles, doesn't have a whole lot of juice or long speed or anything like that. But you trust him to know what he's doing and make the right decisions. And that's a really useful, underrated thing in the NFL. Kalel
Mhm.
Mullings was drafted in the 6th round because this team really wanted a change of pace back to the 1A, 1B tandem of Spears and Pollard. They
Mhm.
wanted somebody that was a dirty works down, more traditional heavy set runner between the tackles, get a couple yards in short yardage or goal line situations. And they think they have that in Kalel Mullings. Now, he's a rookie. He's pretty raw when it comes to the details of the position, like pass protection. We've already seen him make a couple mistakes in
Mhm.
that area of the game in the preseason. And so I think there will be a split responsibility between he and Chestnut as long as Spears is off the field. They're not going to put him in there to the last thing you want is a guy who, no disrespect to Kalel Mullings, he's a 6th round rookie running back, essentially
Mhm.
an intern. You don't want an intern screwing up your first overall draft pick franchise quarterback. So they'll put Chestnut in there to handle those things when Pollard's
Mhm.
not doing it. Obviously, Pollard will do a whole lot of it as well. And then I would expect Mullings to be used in the situations he was originally drafted for, right? Those short yardage, dirty work downs.
Mm.
They need somebody to lay a shoulder into somebody because he has shown some flashes in the preseason. Not to be mean to the guy by calling him an intern. He's shown some flashes in these games, his ability when he's decisive to get downhill in a hurry.
No, that's great. I mean, that's invaluable insight, and I think it does just show you the full effect of the Titans running back room. All right, let's dive in. We're going to split the wide receivers into 2 different questions, right? Because we have Calvin Ridley returning to his 2nd season with the Titans. Obviously, put up 1,000 yards last year, just barely, I think 1,047, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
Yeah, we'll go with it. And they go out and they draft Tyler Lockett, but what do you see? Do you see Ridley coming into that? Not that he wasn't a true wide receiver 1, but do you see him taking the next step in that role? And then obviously I just mentioned Lockett. What do you expect him to actually be a starter the whole season long? And maybe that ties into the rookie question after this, but I've heard more and more about how Tyler Lockett is not even close to the Tyler Lockett of old. And when you do look at the analytics, it does give kind of a sad story. So I'm curious just what your take on the two is. Obviously, 2 completely different players, but the 2 veterans on this Titans wide receiving core.
Yeah, let's start with Calvin. He is somebody that I am extremely bullish on this year. I think as long as he is on the field and healthy, he's going to get just about anything that he wants, anything that you could ask from him. He settled in after the first 6-ish games last year, and from that point on was on a 1,300-yard pace with a pretty disastrous quarterback situation. He was one of the highest, I think, top 3 in the league last year in terms of average depth of target.
Mm.
He was also top 3 or bottom 3, depending on how you want to look at it, in terms of catchable targets per game. The percentage of passes that went his way that were uncatchable was amongst the highest in the league, is another way to put it. And that's not super surprising if you watched it.
Sure.
That's going to change, one would imagine, with Cam Ward. And I think the volume for him is not going to change at all. It's not like he's going to have a higher efficiency of targets, but less targets. No, I think he's going to have a higher efficiency of targets and the same or more targets. I think that he, as long as and we're about to talk about the rest of these receivers, which how they come along can obviously change this picture.
Sure.
But until proven otherwise, he's the guy, and Cam knows he's the guy. And you saw that like in the first preseason game, the first time we saw Cam, right? That first drive where they really went anywhere, the second drive of the game for the Titans offense. The first 3 completions of Cam Ward's game were to Calvin Ridley for 50 yards. And that's kind of a microcosm of what this year is going to look like. They're going to get the ball to him at all 3 levels of the field. I think that I've more than once this offseason considered what's the record for the number of targets in a single season? Oh, it's 205 by who was it? Was it Reggie Wayne? It was some Colt like in 02 or something.
It wouldn't shock me.
One of those Colts in young Peyton land. So maybe not quite setting that record, but maybe getting close. Like last year, I think he had somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 targets. This year, if I was setting it over under, I don't know, 150, 160, like that's where my head is at. Now, the rest of these guys can change that, and it can be a good thing that Calvin gets less targets if it's because other guys are demanding more targets. And that's where we turn to Tyler Lockett, who's going to start as the receiver 2 on this team for sure. And you're right that he's not you should always be wary of when a team lets a franchise player walk without really any consideration of keeping them. And Tyler Lockett is an all-time Seahawk. He's somebody that was there forever and has endeared himself to the fans and that team, and they love him to death. And they told him best of luck to you on the way out the door this year. They weren't interested in having him back. So is he going to be valuable to Cam Ward in this team? Yes. But is it ideal for him to be your wide receiver 2 all year long? No. He is somebody that takes one of his superpowers. We know that he does not get hit. He takes care of his body, finds a way to play and not get knocked out of games. And in his older age, that's serving him very well. So I think that he'll be available, knock on wood. I think that he will be obviously in the right spot at the right time, but he doesn't bring any speed or separation, not a whole lot of downfield ability left in his game at this point. He is somebody that's going to primarily be used as a slot and underneath option, which is fine. And you need a guy like that. But I think that the goal is that sooner or later this year, he'll be surpassed by the other guys on this team, some of the younger guys on this team.
No, for sure. And perfect segue. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to dive into those rookies. We'll be right back.
It is 32 Beat Writers season, August, when they can make you a lot of money, especially on a platform like Fast Draft. Doesn't have hundreds of best ball bro killers. So when there's an injury and you hear about it through 32 Beat Writers, you can run to the Fast Draft app and jump into a Flex 4 game. Just draft any 6 Flex players. Top 4 enter your lineup every week. Or the Rabbit, 15-round best ball. Get your quarterback wide receiver stacks, get your running back sleepers. And if you follow 32 Beat Writers, you can jump into these draft rooms and be like, oh my God, I'm avoiding this guy at all costs, and I'm gobbling up all of this other running back before the larger public is fully aware, has fully digested the ramifications of the information that 32 Beat Writers is sharing. So go get Fast Draft, type in that code 32BW. 32BW is the code. Get you a $50 deposit match on Fast Draft. Now let's go start drafting faster.
All right. And we're back to talk about these rookies. So a lot going on with the Titans. We're starting to see the emergence of Ayomanor. I mean, I feel like he makes a highlight play every day, at least from what we've been seeing. Our prospect analysis, Tyjae, was on him really early in a lot of mocks. From that, I was kind of shocked. He, was there in the 4th round when the Titans made the pick. Almost seems like at least a slight steal on paper. I think that brings to the question, and this kind of piggybacks on, the Lockett conversation, is what does Ayomanor need to do to continue that momentum and potentially move into a starting role? And then, we have 2 other guys that I also want to get some insight on. And, do you see Dike being able to contribute at all this year? And then, man, my Senior Bowl sweetheart, Xavier Restrepo, who was our favorite interview at the Senior Bowl. I think I played like the draft day or made that draft day meme that said Xavier Restrepo no matter what. So I feel like I'm obligated everywhere to at least have some share of this guy, assuming he makes a team. So that's my question to you is, has he done enough to potentially do that? So let's break it down with Ayomanor, Dike, and Restrepo. Easton, what are you thinking?
So will Ayomanor be a starter? Yes. Will Dike contribute? Yes. Will Restrepo, has he done enough to make the team? No.
Oh.
Those are the answers to all of the questions. Now we can talk about why those are the answers. With Ayomanor, I was a big fan of his as well early in the draft process. I was surprised to see him fall where he did. It was, as is the case with anybody that falls in the draft, it tends to be medical. With his, it was a little medical thing that hasn't been a problem at all since he's been here. So, knock on wood there. But he is somebody that, especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks of camp, there's been a concerted effort to get him the ball more, to elevate him in the rotation. He is somebody that I think week 1 will probably be the starting wide receiver 3 in terms of target share. Whether you never know, like you talk about somebody that's going to be a starter, and then the first package they run out there is like 12 personnel, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's not the."
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of the game, let's see who has the most targets, right? Like I think that he's going to be a wide receiver 2 or 3 role immediately in September, whether that's in week 1 or by the end of the month, he will be ingratiated in that role. And the thing that was pretty evident to me when you just looked at the Titans roster back in April after they put together their draft was he's kind of the only X receiver build and skill set on this team. Now in the big 2025, we're playing all the positions for the most part. There are a couple of guys that are slot only, but for the rest of the team, it's positionless basketball in the NFL at this point, and these guys are being moved all around. But you need somebody that has that X skill set that can play there primarily. That can be their home base, and I think that absolutely can be the case for Elic. So he's somebody that I like a lot, and I think the biggest thing for him to kind of take that next step from exciting day 3 rookie getting a start to serious future starting receiver on this team this year is unlocking his ability with his speed and physicality. Like he's somebody that I refer to guys like him as a big fast. He's a big fast because he's big and he's fast, and that's what he wins with. He is a talented runner, and I think that his route running has come along pretty noticeably this summer. But it is a work in progress. He's somebody that should be able to win this year by just being bigger and faster than you. And the fast part, I've not really had an issue with. Like, if you're fast, you're fast. But can you use your size to your advantage? Can you turn 50-50 balls into 80-20 balls in your in your favor because you just go up and bully a guy and you decide, as he put it to us the other day at joint practices in Atlanta, like, I just need to decide sometimes this ball is mine and nobody else is getting this ball, that it's mine. And there's a mindset to that as well. And that's kind of been up and down with him. It's almost like you can see the wheels turning with him when he's out there. These guys are trying to pick up a lot. They're drinking from a fire hose. And he's, I'm sure, thinking about the details of the position, trying to be on his mind, his P's and Q's. And at a point, you need the game to slow down and for them to be able to just play fast, play natural, play loose. And for him, play big and fast. And so when that comes this season, I don't know, but I feel like it could be a moment where you see the switch kind of flip with him. With Dike, he's coming along a little bit slower. He is going to be a contributor. I think he'll start the season as your wide receiver 4 or 5 in the rotation and has certainly the potential to increase his workload from there. He's also somebody that I think that they are going to use in the return game, maybe a dual returner at some point in his career. So he's going to make the team. Obviously, he's going to be a primary backup option for them. He's not going to be a starter quite yet, but could he be a starter by the end of the year? I think that he could. He just, you got to see him progress. And sometimes guys, I think back to last year with the Bucks and now I'm blanking on his name. The Washington McMillan. Yeah. Jalen McMillan goes out there, and for the first 8-9 weeks, he's a nothing, a total bum to a lot of Bucks fans, and they're already pissed off about him. And then he finishes the year phenomenally, and everybody loves the guy. Now he's unfortunately put back in the the sidecar because Emeka Egbuka is apparently already God himself. But what a whole side note, but what an embarrassment of riches they have down there in Tampa Bay. That could be a thing that happens for Dike, is that the switch kind of flips for him at some point during the season and he comes along. With Restrepo, he's just, if you want to call Ayomanor a big fast, Restrepo is a slow, which sounds like a slur almost. It feels like a thing you can't say. But I liked him too. I thought that he had a better chance than not to make the roster. At the beginning of this process, I kept saying 51%, 51-49, he makes the team just because there's opportunity and because he is somebody that did a lot to prove himself in college. But he's ultimately going to be somebody that's a practice squad guy. I think that people will panic and light torches and grab pitchforks for minutes, maybe even hours, when he is cut at some point over the weekend or on Monday or Tuesday. And then he will land softly in the practice squad role that he's going to, that he's slotted for, and all will be well. And he's somebody that, may even get a call up or two this year.
So I shouldn't cry yet, is what you're saying. When it comes to Restrepo.
It's not over, but it might be over. We'll see.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think at the start of it all, we were like, oh, this is Cam's guy. And that meant something clearly early on. I feel like we saw it. And then, you've hit it numerous times with this. It's kind of evolved, and these other guys are now using their talent to surpass him. So, hopefully he makes a practice squad. I'd like him to stick around in Tennessee. But all right, let's talk about the last position group here, and that's a tight end. So you have Chig coming into year 4. It actually shocked me when I was looking this up, and I'm like, man, it's year 4 for him.
Yeah,
which
man.
To me makes it seem like this has got to be a make or break year. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but they go out, they draft Gunnar Helm. how do you see these guys coexisting? And I mean, I feel like I asked it, but is this a make or break year for Chig? Like, what does he have to do for the Titans to be like, hey, we need to keep this guy around? Or is Helm drafted to be his replacement? Just how do you expect them to coexist? Who do you expect to win out and be that true Titans receiving tight end this year?
Yeah, I mean, it is a contract year for Chig, so it's make or
Mhm.
break in that sense. And I think this year will go a long way in the Titans' decision to extend him, get him on a new contract or to let him walk. And Gunnar's play is going to dictate that as well, right? You need to be comfortable with who you've got if you're going to make that decision to let him go. Chig's the better tight end right now. And they play relatively different positions. Like Chig is an F move tight end type, and Gunnar's more of an inline Y type. And I think that there'll be a lot of 12 personnel looks where they're both out there this year, especially early on when some of the receivers are less proven. Gunnar is somebody that I think that they'll be comfortable relying on right away. I think that it honestly might be as simple as Chig is the guy that gets the ball a whole lot between the 20s. And then Gunnar Helm is already started to prove himself as the quintessential red zone, really big target, really sure hands, really physical, good route runner type of tight end. So I don't know. I half jokingly projected like, what if Chig has 850 yards and 1 touchdown this year, and Gunnar Helm has 250 yards and 8 touchdowns this year? Like that's kind of the archetypes that I'm expecting from these two guys. And by the end of the year, Gunnar might just be the better tight end, depending on how you look at it. But right now, it's still Chig's world.
No, I mean, I think, everyone gets so excited. I mean, clearly the Titans are packed with rookies who, we are all hopeful for and excited about. But I think this is a very good point. Like, we also have to be realists, right? We can't just assume they're going to go out there week 1, be this great. You alluded to McMillan taking 9 weeks. Like,
it may have been more than that, honestly. It was at least half the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it takes time for these guys. I think Easton hit the nail on the head with that. All right, so wrap it up. Easton, tell us one thing that you feel listeners need to know about this offense that just might not be immediately obvious. It can be a player, it can be a scheme, it can be positive, it can be negative. What do you feel like listeners need to know?
I would say that there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of I think latitude for real ups and downs across this offensive roster. And there have been moments throughout the past, really all summer, that I have thought about a part of this team and gotten really worried about the depth or about how quickly someone will come along or whatever it may be. The rock that I kind of go back to mentally, the thing that I continue to lean on, is that I think this offensive line is going to be pretty good. It's going to be the first pretty good offensive line for the Titans in at least 3 years. They absolutely on paper have the best 5 that they've had in 3 or 4 or 5 years. They shouldn't have a glaring weakness. They should have a pair of starting NFL bookend tackles, which is not a thing you can take for granted. They should have a guy in Peter Skoronski, who's the best lineman on the team and potentially in all-pro consideration this year if he picks up where he left off last year. No one watched the Titans down the stretch, but down the stretch, he was arguably the best guard in the entire NFL, and that was in an offensive line situation that was actively deteriorating around him. So I could see him making a really big leap. JC Latham also poised to make a leap, especially with him moving to the side that he played in college and getting his body composition in a place that's pretty dramatically different from where it was last year. One of the bigger questions is just the center position. Lloyd Cushenberry, when he's back and healthy, I don't have any questions about, but he is coming back from an Achilles and just recently popped up. So how quickly he gets back is a question mark. But frankly, Corey Levin is the guy they have behind him, slated to be the spot starter. And he's been a spot starter in the NFL for a very long time. And he is perfectly fine. You're really not worried. I mean, you're not worried about him in the game. Is he going to be awesome? No. Is he going to make some mistakes? Sure. But is he going to ruin your game like sometimes the backup lineman can? Definitely not.
I mean, that's important, right?
It is important. Yeah. One straight up disaster on the offensive line is all it takes for your entire game to be ruined, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a tackle. So he's not going to be that. So the offensive line being good, how quickly they're good, will dictate, I think, a lot for Cam Ward, how good the offense is. And if you're worried about the offense being bad, just remind yourself that there have been many times in NFL history, a couple times every single year, that good to great offensive lines have made otherwise crappy offenses look pretty good.
No, that is fair. And, hopefully the Titans don't have a crappy offense, and hopefully the O-line is solid and it all just gels together and we can get some excitement down here. If you all haven't noticed, in the bottom corner of this is Easton's information and where you can find him. Please follow him. Great Titans follow, great articles. Easton, just want to wrap this up with you just telling everyone about kind of more about what you got going on, what you're writing about, where they can find you, why they should listen to you, because you are amazing and give incredible insight on the Titans. All you, sir.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter at Easton Freeze. You can follow my work at AtoZsports.com. Search Easton or search the Titans. You'll find a bunch of written stuff from me over there all the time. Got a lot of exclusive stuff recently, stuff from Brian Callahan in the front office and stuff on Cam Ward, roster projections. We got all that going on right now, obviously. And then we're off to the races with the regular season here in just a wink. And I do all my video stuff at AtoZ Sports on YouTube. So search AtoZ Sports there, and hosting our morning show a lot of mornings, doing some primetime stuff in the evenings, a bunch of random videos, all kinds of good things. So speaking and writing anywhere you can find AtoZ Sports.
There you go. All right. You heard it straight from him. That's it for this episode of Beyond the Beat. I'm Matt Olson. He's Easton Freeze. Be sure to follow him. And for all the other latest NFL news and updates, head over to 32beatwriters.com. Make sure you're following, subscribing, and doing all that good stuff. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.